Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, May 3rd, 2018. I'm Keith Tebow. On tonight's program, there's a masonry project underway at the Lafayette Durfee House, and we have details on the big walk at the Water Department reservation in Fall River this weekend. But first, let's check in with the headline issues of the week. We bring in Will Richmond, the digital news editor at the Herald News. Will, welcome.
Thanks, Keith. Good to see you again. Beautiful
Early spring, summer day in Fall River. Past few days have been absolutely beautiful, so definitely we've turned the corner, so it's good to see the fine weather. Let's start with something that actually came out of last year's municipal election. As people may know, voters in Fall River overwhelmingly voted to make changes to Fall River's city charter, and that's been in effect ever since that vote last November. And now, Will, there are some members of the Charter Commission that are putting some pressure on the city to actually follow through on some of the new items that are in that charter, saying that the city's been delaying some of these issues. Fill us in on what's going on.
Yeah, there's really one issue that's grabbed a lot of their attention is the forming of a Charter Commission that would do a continuous review of the aspects of the charter, ensure it's being followed correctly, consider if there's any revisions that might be needed in the future and that kind of thing. That commission was supposed to be formed fairly close to the vote that approved it that you previously mentioned. And to this point, you know, as we are 5 months now into the new year and a good 7 months or so since the election, that group has not been formed yet. And they're just kind of saying, you know, this is a dereliction of the responsibilities of the charter. The group needs to be formed, and you know, they're now taking it upon themselves to form their own advocacy group and potentially hire legal representation to get this pushed through.
Yeah, I guess according to the new charter that was again approved last November, this special commission to look at the city, making sure it's adhering to the new charter, should have been formed immediately, and I put that in air quotes, because that apparently is what is stated in the charter. And some would argue that immediately could be more than 7 months. Some people will think immediately should have been maybe less than 7 days. So interesting that this issue still is coming up after the events of last November. Were there any other issues specific to the charter that these individuals are also bringing up that need to be addressed?
Well, I think they also have some concern about how charter items are being interpreted. Basically, it has fallen solely on the hands of Corporation Counsel Joe Macy. His interpretations have been sort of the ones that have ruled, unless someone has wanted to challenge something. You may think back to the vote for the new Durfee High School override.
Yeah. And
you know, there was some question related to that as to you know, language in the charter that related to the requirement that there's a 20% turnout, and what type of election does that apply to? You know, so you know, was that vote challengeable? Was it not? And you know, some people said it was, some said it wasn't, and it kind of just fell onto the city Corporation Council to make that decision and people to accept it. And so there's been some questions about that as well, and the feeling that I think a commission would help to ensure that who the right person is to make that decision and what the processes are going forward if these sort of challenges do arise.
I know it's interesting how voters will make changes in either a referendum or in this case a charter, and you know, whether it's taken up right away is another issue. I point to, you may have read as well, the city of East Providence had an issue whereby I believe back in 2012 voters voted to extend their council members to 4-year terms, but it wasn't adhered to. And there was an article, I believe, a couple weeks ago that some council members who are up for re-election this year after a 2-year term are looking to extend their work for the 4 years, even though they weren't voted based on that premise. So it's one of those things where some of these changes need to be, again, attended to right away, or there could be some discrepancy. So we will continue to follow that. Speaking of elections, there is going to be an election this year in 2018. It's going to be a statewide election, as well as election for some federal offices in terms of Congress. But this week, the Herald News, you posted that some of our local state representatives are going to be facing some opposition. In Fall River, only one of the 3 state representatives looks like she's going to be facing some opposition in November.
Yeah, actually, there'll be 2 of the state representatives.
Correct. Right.
Yes. So Carol Friola looks to be heading towards a 3rd matchup with David Steinhoff, a Fall River dentist. Carol had beaten him in the special election when she was initially elected, following the resignation of David Sullivan, and then in the regular election that happened after that special election. And then as well, Alan Sylvia is getting a challenge from Ian Tompkins, who ran for city council here in Fall River this past year, and is going to be challenging Alan as a member of the Green Rainbow Party, excuse me. So that would mean both of those races won't be determined until the November election. There'd be no primary for them, though they would appear on a primary ballot with no challenger.
And as we speak, it looks like State Representative Paul Schmid, who represents part of Fall River, and State Senator Michael Rodrigues, both Democrats, will likely not have opponents this year. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. So again, state races have begun in earnest. They tend to begin a little earlier than our local races. Local races, we get energized about it during the summer, but because of requirements in terms of filing of nomination papers on the statewide level, we kind of know now what's going to be on our plate heading toward November as well. We'll have more as we get toward the summer. There's a race for governor here and the other state constitutional officers in Massachusetts, so we'll be following that as we head along. Finally, Will, I want to talk a little bit about sort of a cultural issue. Of course, there are many Roman Catholics here in the city of Fall River, and one of its iconic churches found out recently that in order to get a much-needed facelift, it's going to require quite a bit of money, $13.5 million to renovate and rehab St. Anne's Church. Of course, the main church in the upper levels has been closed for some time since part of the plaster fell, I believe, a couple of years ago. And there's some concern about the future of this church.
Yeah, certainly that is a very large number for any parish to have to try to raise. There currently isn't a plan in place to try to raise that kind of money, though it seems there are some people who at least are concerned about the future of the church and would love to see it repaired and, somehow get that back to an active status. Currently, that main section is closed off, as you mentioned. The basement is used for masses at this point, but like you said, I mean, this is a Fall River landmark, and the future of it is very much in doubt at this point.
I know. I grew up here in the city, and I remember the other iconic church, Notre Dame, and I remember when it burned to the ground back in the early 80s. And the St. Anne's Church sort of mimics it, the 2 large spires on either side. And it'll be a shame if they're not able to save it. And I'm sure we'll hear more about efforts to restore the church. I believe it's on the list of historic landmarks in terms of some registry, either statewide or nationally. So we hope that a lot can happen to save, again, that very historic building. All right, Will, what's coming up over the next few days?
Well, recently we've been following the case of John Sylvia, who was recently sentenced in federal court after being convicted on numerous fraud charges. This coming weekend, we've got a lot of reaction from his victims with some very harsh words, including some very prominent Fall River figures that I think people will be very familiar with. So it's very interesting. They've lost a lot of money, or their family has, and they're not very happy with what John Sylvia did to them.
All right, we will look for that this weekend. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, you too, Keith.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this. Art Week, an innovative statewide festival, is coming to Fall River for the first time, and you're invited. Art Week was founded in 2013 to bring communities in Massachusetts unusual and unexpected experiences that are interactive or that offer behind-the-scenes access to artists or the creative process. Our local celebration will take place from April 27th to May 6th and will include 13 special events. ranging from a virtual reality scavenger hunt to an amateur radio day and a Mayfest. You can also attend painting workshops, concerts, art exhibits, and wellness events, along with themed performances featuring Frank Sinatra, Julia Child, and Lizzie Borden. You can even go out on the town on a ghost tour. Art Week in Fall River is sponsored by the Creative Arts Network, formerly known as AHA, and most events are free. For more information, go to creativeartsnetwork.org or FRmedia.org, and remember, Art Week starts on April 27th. Next year, the City of Fall River will be negotiating a new contract with Comcast to provide cable service to subscribers. Public input is essential to a successful contract renewal. To collect this input and to better position the city to meet its communications needs for the next 10 years, FRCmedia has commissioned a community needs assessment. We need your help. We're holding a series of 3 focus group meetings to gauge community interest in the future of cable communications in Fall River. The meetings are grouped by special interests. However, attend any meeting you'd like based on your schedule. The first will be held Wednesday, May 16th from 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and will focus on local education. The second will be held Thursday, May 17th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. for local government officials and businesses. The final focus group will also be on Thursday, May 17th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. This will be geared toward local nonprofit organizations and the community at large. All meetings will take place in the community room at the Spencer Borden Elementary School, 1400 President Avenue. Refreshments will be served. For more information and to register for a focus group meeting, visit frmedia.org/focus groups or call us at 774-357-2391. Help us shape the local communications landscape in Fall River. Take part in our community focus group sessions May 16th and 17th.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Hairstylist Supercuts, located at 4171 North Main Street, is looking for a full-time hairstylist to perform hairstyle consultation in order to decide what services the client needs, such as shampooing, cutting, styling, coloring, and highlighting. Job number 10489598. Patient Access Coordinator St. Anne's Hospital, located at 795 Middle Street, is currently seeking a full-time patient access coordinator to greet, receive, and escort patients and collect and verify patient demographic, insurance eligibility, and financial information. Job number 10498543. Short Order Kitchen Manager Java House, located at 139 South Main Street, is in need of a full-time short-order kitchen manager responsible for overseeing the kitchen and coffee area and maintain a super clean environment. Job number 10493305. Citizens Bank, located at 501 Rodman Street, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. Assistant Branch Manager, job number 10495564. In-Store Branch Manager, job number 10488440. Family Service Association, located at 101 Rock Street, is looking to fulfill the following part-time positions. Van Driver, job number 10478415. Activity Director, job number 10478408. For more information on these or other positions, visit jobquest.detma.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. The Lafayette Durfee House in Fall River is getting a facelift. 5 of the historic building's fireplaces are being restored to working order. One of the masons on the job was asked if it's more difficult to work on some of these aging structures.
We're working off of unsquare walls, unlevel walls, old brick. It's just much more difficult than new work.
But you do it with ease, correct?
I try.
What is the hardest part of the job?
Having everything come together, having all 5 fireplaces come into one chimney unit at the top.
Well, we're finishing up, as you can see with the mason, Mr. Israel has just left. They're coming through the roof now with the new chimney, which is historically more accurate than the old chimney was. All 5 fireplaces have been rebuilt, and they just got to be cleaned up. We need the cranes to put in. Every fireplace is going to have a crane inside. We'd be able to cook in it, like they did back in the 18th century. So everything has been restored. The mantles are being built as we speak in the contractor's shop. So they will be put on, hopefully by the end of this week. We'll have the mantles, the restored mantles put back in place, and we're going to start the new roof, which is going to be wood shingled, just as it was in the 18th century. Hopefully, it's going to end by the end of this month. They've been working on it for the last 6 weeks. They had some difficulties with the old fireplaces, like Mr. Israel said, about unsquared walls and lousy bricks, and but our architect drew up new plans, and now he's been following the plans of Mr. Ventrones, who was the architect, and things are coming together. Things are going to be really, it's going to be the only living history museum in this area with a working fireplace and hearth, and we hope to have cooking classes as well.
A 14-mile nature walk is set to take place this Saturday at the 15,000-acre Water Department reservation in Fall River. Here's more.
The Big Walk is an event. This is the 21st year we've done this Big Walk, and it is a 14-mile walk through the Southeastern Mass Bioreserve. And this is one of the largest natural areas in the state of Massachusetts. And the Big Walk started, 20-some odd years ago to call attention to this vast wilderness area that we have here in Fall River and Freetown, and to make certain connections and to, introduce folks to it. And it also, over the years, has become an event that calls attention to the place, introduces people to the place, but also is used as a tool to help advocate for protecting more land. I think because of the Big Walk, the bioreserve happened because there was a knowledge that this land was here and it needed to be protected. It's always been free, except for the last couple of years, as the cost of putting this on. We get over 100 people, so there's a little cost involved with putting it on. We have it's a long route. Not everybody wants to complete the route, and so we have a pickup stops for folks who want to do a smaller section, a couple of miles, 3 miles, like that. So we have a shuttle van, and we have some other support things that we need, to water and certain other things so that we don't strand people or have problems,
What about animals? Will people see any along the way?
Well, we're going to make a lot of noise as we crash through the woods, so we're certainly going to see and hear birds. And the route that we're going to be on this year, we often change the route from year to year. This year, we're going to be concentrating on the shoreline of the North Watuppa. And in fact, a lot of the areas are not open to the public. So this is the only circumstance that you could do that. So you're asked about animals. I've seen the American bald eagle over the pond because we'll be in proximity to the pond. And so this is the rural side of the pond. Everybody knows the pond from Route 24 and the city. But we're going to be in areas that these birds are more likely to be. And I've seen them at treetop level, as we're walking on some of these open areas.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today I'd like to introduce you to Tasha. She's about 7 to 8 months old. She came to us as a stray. She's been spayed. She's all ready to go home. She's very shy. She really is scared of her new surroundings, so it might take her a little bit of time to get used to a new place. But she's very sweet, and she doesn't mind being held, but she feels more comfortable in the safety of her cage at the moment, so she's still learning how to be okay here. But you can find her here at Forever Paws, and we'd love to be able to show her to you.
Today we have Scruffy. Scruffy is a 5-year-old pit mix. He's a very nice boy. He really just loves people. You can see he's sidling up here right by me. We know he came from a good home before too, because during his behavioral evaluation, he knew all of his cues first try, and he would do them with a gusto. So you can tell he was very well loved. Unfortunately, his previous family, they couldn't keep him anymore, and they had to give him up. So he's here looking for a new home. So Scruffy here, he is a big guy. He's approximately 85 pounds, so you will be able to handle him. It'd probably be a good idea if you might have like a fenced-in yard, that sort of thing. Though like I said, he is well trained. So once he gets the kennel energy out of him, he'd probably be a very good walking or running buddy. He is also very good with other animals. He loves other dogs, likes kids. Like as I said, he came from a family. So come on down to Forever Paws Animal Shelter if you'd like to meet him. We're located at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Art Week, an innovative statewide festival, is coming to Fall River for the first time, and you're invited. Art Week was founded in 2013 to bring communities in Massachusetts unusual and unexpected experiences that are interactive or that offer behind-the-scenes access to artists or the creative process. Our local celebration will take place from April 27th to May 6th and will include 13 special events, ranging from a virtual reality scavenger hunt to an amateur radio day and a Mayfest. You can also attend painting workshops, concerts, art exhibits, and wellness events, along with themed performances featuring Frank Sinatra, Julia Child, and Lizzie Borden. You can even go out on the town on a ghost tour. Art Week in Fall River is sponsored by the Creative Arts Network, formerly known as AHA, and most events are free. For more information, go to creativeartsnetwork.org or FRCmedia.org, and remember, Art Week starts on April 27th. A Comic-Con event will be held at the Fall River Public Library this weekend, and a full house is expected. Here's Supervisor of Children's Services, David Mello.
First of all, the big draw is going to be the superheroes and other characters that will be here. Right now, we have scheduled to appear Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Bumblebee, Kylo Ren, and the Incredible Hulk. They'll all be here for pictures and to meet their fans, so that's one of the exciting draws. We're also having a scavenger hunt throughout the library where children and families will be looking for images from sci-fi, fantasy, the comic book world, hidden throughout the 3 floors of the library. And the challenge is to find all 8 images, drop them into our box, and then there'll be a prize awarded, some random prizes awarded to those who fill out the entries completely.
Whose idea was it? How did this plan come out?
It's a joint effort throughout the library here at this time. A number of the staff here are real big comic book and fantasy and sci-fi fans. I'm among them. And we've done other similar programs such as Doctor Who Night and Star Wars events, and we figured we'd go all out and do a Comic-Con. So this is our first venture ever. It's geared toward families, but we're welcoming young adults as well who enjoy, the comic book world and meeting their heroes and doing some fun stuff at the library. And we're inviting patrons to come dressed up as their favorite sci-fi or fantasy or comic book hero. There will be a Comic-Con costume contest for children with prizes awarded to the best female and male costumes.
So dressing up obviously is just part of the fun.
Oh, at any Comic-Con, it is probably the major part of the fun, getting to embody the spirit of your favorite characters and showing off your costume. So that, yeah, most definitely part of the fun of it all. This coming Saturday also happens to be Free Comic Book Day, and we're very delighted to have the sponsorship of Game King Comics and Collectibles here in Fall River to sponsor that aspect of the celebration. They're giving free comic books to one free comic book to all fans that come in that day for as long as they last.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can watch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. and join us online 24/7 at frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.